welcome back to another episode of JP and the Beanstalk.
You better believe it. There's a great energy in the gym, Beans.
Per usual.
The chairs we're sitting on are new. I mean, it just
new to this room.
New to us. New to us.
No, new to this room. Our butts are very familiar.
You know, you're right. You're right. Good call. Good call. But there's very few things better than a free seat. So
True.
And a great seat at that. So kudos to you for acquiring said chairs. Great job. Really great job.
So I promote stealing. I mean, borrowing.
Borrowing without permission, as dear sweet Jack Sparrow likes to say. Yeah, well, hey, welcome to summer. I mean, it's
here.
We're right in the thick of May,
Yeah.
so technically we're going to call this the summertime. That's kind of neat. Allegedly, there are summer movies ahead of us. We'll get into that topic a little bit, but allegedly. That's
Allegedly
the case.
is keyword.
Here's a question for you,
Mhm.
okay?
Hit me.
Just pick one, but what is one of your most memorable summer movie going experiences?
Oh, dear God. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember when movies came out.
Okay. As you're pondering, I'll go first. I'll answer my own question. All right. Two experiences that I can recall, both kind of on the negative side. So maybe I'm just getting bitter with old age. It's entirely possible. But I remember like 20 some years ago going to see Pearl Harbor when it first came out. And this is back in the dark ages when you didn't buy, reserved seats ahead of time. You just showed up to the theater early enough to buy a ticket, took the first seat available to you. And I remember getting the movie theater a good half hour ahead of time, which I think back in the day was acceptable. And it wasn't even necessarily opening night. It was opening weekend.
Yeah.
And the tickets were all sold out, and I was super bummed because I was extraordinarily hyped to see that movie. I still remember the trailer for that movie. One of the money shots was a bomb being dropped from a Japanese plane, and the camera kind of sees the bomb as it's coming down, and then it goes up above the bomb as it drifts through the wind and eventually just hitting an American battleship and exploding. It's a really cool shot. But that was disappointing. However, most disappointing summer movie experience that I have ever had, okay? Opening night, The Dark Knight, 2008. So excited. I think I've told you this story before. I think
Yes.
I have. Go to the midnight showing, because that was also a thing back in the day. They didn't release movies on Thursdays for you youths, you soft generation of, oh, I can't stay up till midnight and see it on Friday. I got to go on Thursday. Spare me. Spare me.
My mom didn't let me.
I wish your mom would have said something to me in this case, because we go to the movie. It's glorious. We get a good 2.5 hours in, and we're right up at the ending scene where Harvey Dent has fallen off of the landing. He's broken his neck and died. Batman and Jim Gordon are dialoguing, and all of a sudden, screen goes black. And there's about 5 very pregnant seconds of silence where no one in the audience knows this is part of the movie. Wait a minute, what do we do? And then as the realization occurs that, no, this isn't right, boy, did words start flying. And you see on the peripheral, theater workers hustling back and forth. This doesn't look good. This doesn't look good. Another couple minutes pass. Obviously, we're all getting restless, and a theater employee comes to the front of the theater and says, we've had a malfunction with the projector. We're working on it. We should have it back up and running shortly. Okay, so nobody's really happy with that news, but we're stable, right? Situation's stable. 15 minutes goes by, and 15 minutes feels a heck of a lot longer than 15 minutes at this point. The same movie theater employee comes back out in front. This time he's flanked by another 4 employees on either side.
Smart.
It is smart. It is smart, because he says, we're so sorry. The film broke and we can't fix it. So good night. And just, I feel bad for the person. This is just the epitome of bearer of bad news and don't kill the messenger, except everybody wanted to kill the messenger. And so I'm left along with, dozens or hundreds of other people to go home not knowing how the movie concluded. Now, we were close, right? Like, we're within 2 to 3 minutes of the film wrapping up, but we don't get to hear Batman take on the burden of Harvey Dent's crimes, or Jim Gordon give the glorious "The Dark Knight" line as Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, blazes off into the Gotham evening as the music crescendos. We didn't get that. So I had to go see it a second time, which I was fine seeing it a second time. I ended up seeing it 3 times in theaters.
And they didn't refund you?
They gave everybody coupons to come back later. So a free movie pass to attend the movie later.
Okay.
Hey, the best they could do, it's a poo situation. That's not true. The best they could have done was give me like 5 free movies because I was devastated. Devastated.
Fair enough.
But yeah, there you go. On a positive note, I really enjoyed Top Gun Maverick a couple summers ago. That was a pleasant surprise. My expectations weren't very high for that one, but I remember going to see it and just being blown away. Loved it. So there you go. There's a positive mixed in with all the crumminess.
So I had to look up the release dates for these movies.
Of course.
So I will put Avengers at number 1. Mm-hmm. That movie came out. That was the first actually active audience that I've ever gotten to be a part of, and I was like freshman in high school, maybe a year younger. It might have been 8th grade.
Yes.
8th grade summer. Anyways, never had that experience before. I went with my buddy.
Yep.
Phenomenal.
People are just into
It's great.
Yep.
It's like, yes. And then the other one would be Iron Man. And I went to that with my dad.
It's good.
Because my dad's like, you gotta go see this movie. This will be sweet. Okay. I know nothing about Iron Man.
Also in 2008. So nice how we're bringing this full circle. That's great.
I came out of that movie with my dad and I was like, that was awesome.
My life has been changed.
Because I was like, that's the first time I've ever seen a superhero be like, yep, I'm him. That's me. I'm Iron Man. And I was like blown away. I was like, no way. He's just okay with people knowing that?
Yep.
So,
right. That was a big deal with that movie because every other superhero movie that any of us had seen up to that point was the superheroes always like veiled behind their alter ego, right? They're two totally separate entities. You don't tell people, hey, I'm Iron Man or I'm Batman or I'm Superman. It's just part of the superhero package.
Right? And that's how it ended. It was like, I am Iron Man.
Yes.
End movie. And you're like, whoa, what? What's this opening the door for?
Incredible.
And sure enough, Iron Man 2 comes out. He's got a giant target on his back for, I wonder why.
What could go wrong here?
Somebody stole someone else's tech? But,
shocking.
Oh, yeah. So,
that's great. That's a great pull.
And then,
2008, good year overall.
That was a great year for superhero movies. Absolutely. 2 iconic movies coming out of that with The Dark Knight and Iron Man.
No question.
Oh, the good old days.
It's a good trip down memory lane. Well, speaking of trips down memory lane, on the docket for today, we are continuing our series of rewatching the X-Men movies. So we're just at X2, which is a glorious rewatch. So it's going to be very exciting to recap and discuss that phenomenal film, which came out circa 2003. We have a bundle of news to cover. So there was a pretty good news dump here in the last week and a half. So some good nuggets to pull into and discuss. And then, of course, another classic, JP and the Beans Top 5, where we give you our top 5 picks for movies to see this summer. Here's a spoiler. It's a thin list. Frankly, might have probably should have whittled it down to a top 3, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
Top 2.
So let's start out on a positive note. With all that being said, X-Men 2 came out in 2003, directed by Bryan Singer, written by Bryan Singer. Lot of returning cast members. We'll run through the cast real quick. So you still have Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier, Ian McKellen as Magneto, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, Adam K. Johnson as Jean Grey, James Marsden as Cyclops, Anna Paquin as Rogue, Halle Berry as Storm, Rebecca Romijn as Mystique. So a lot of returning cast members. Sorry, Ray Park, you're no longer here as Toad because you got electrocuted and Tyler Mane as Sabretooth, you're also done. So, but at least it freed Tyler Mane up to star in the movie Troy with Brad Pitt, in which he was killed. Oh, no, wait, he wasn't killed. He played Ajax. So he actually got, you know what? He got to swing a giant stone hammer in Troy. So not bad for Tyler Mane. You're welcome, Ty. That's actually okay for you. I was thinking of a different dude that played a character that gets killed almost immediately. A very similarly yoked individual. So Tyler, stop whining. It's fine that you weren't in X2. You did great in Troy. New to the team. New cast members, we have Alan Cumming as Kurt Wagner, a.k.a. Nightcrawler, Aaron Stanford as John Allardyce, a.k.a. Pyro, Sean Ashmore as Bobby Drake, a.k.a. Iceman, and as I was making this list, I realized, okay, I totally forgot to give Sean his due. He's in the original X-Men movie, and
he didn't do anything.
He froze a little fireball that Pyro had made, and Mystique impersonated him. So he had a minor, not major, but he was there. So I wanted to be honest. I'm sorry, Sean. My bad. You were in the first X-Men movie, and I didn't really give you your props there. Kelly Hu as Yoriko Oyama, a.k.a. Lady Deathstrike. And then, of course, a few human beings mixed in here. Brian Cox as Colonel William Stryker. And then, well, actually not a human, Michael Reed McKay as Jason Stryker. If you want to scare yourself a little bit, go to IMDb, look up Michael Reed McKay. He still looks exactly like Jason Stryker from the movie. I think the costume and makeup crew had very little work to do there. So phenomenal casting choice. In terms of efficiency, he was very well cast. Okay, there you go. There's the cast members. A little additional context here, okay, because this movie is a banger, which we're going to get into. But let's discuss real quick, hey, what came before, what came after? So the first Spider-Man movie came out in 2002. So just before X2. Daredevil came out in 2003. Not very good. Hulk came out in 2003. Best thing that happened with that movie was the giant green gloves, right? The toys. The movie itself, quite tough. Sorry, Eric Bana. But shortly after X2 comes out in 2003, we get Spider-Man 2 in 2004. That was phenomenal. Blade Trinity, which we've recently discussed, came out in 2004. So the Blade trilogy as a whole was great. We know Blade Trinity wasn't phenomenal. Hellboy comes out in 2004. Batman Begins gets released in 2005. So we're seeing with X2 a series of really phenomenal superhero movies. Spider-Man 2, X2, Batman Begins. For some people out there, Hellboy, there's some really solid superhero flicks coming out and improving on the genre. So there's a little additional historical context for X2. All right, all that, the table's been set. Let's feast. Riles, what did you think on rewatching X-Men 2? How long has it been, by the way, since you've seen it?
Well, we watched it a couple years ago for the podcast.
It's true.
Fun fact. So since then?
Since then?
Yes. It's definitely a better sequel. Like compared to the first one, it's better. And it's streets ahead. In that sense.
Yeah.
Like great. The ensemble actually felt more like an ensemble, right? Everybody got more screen time together. It felt more important together.
Yes.
I mean, because that was one of the gripes we had previously. You can still make that gripe for Cyclops. They kind of take Cyclops off the board again for a little while. They kind of do him dirty a little bit in these original trilogy, which is kind of insane when you think about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Hard to come out of these movies impressed with Cyclops.
Right. So, I mean, Iceman, Pyro, Rogue all have more significant time, which is great. You get to see Wolverine step into that protector role that we talked about from the previous movie. And it kind of goes, instead of just, hey, you're in charge of Rogue, you are now in charge of all of the kids. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I wish we would have gotten more Colossus.
Right.
Which is actually kind of cool in the way that, like, they do, like, tease the other X-Men, right? Sure. Throughout this movie.
Sure.
You get Beast teased on the news screen. You get Colossus. He has a nice showing. They tease Kitty Pryde, even saying, like, hey, that's how I got these documents, was Kitty Pryde. So she had significance out like off screen,
Correct.
which is great.
Yep.
But like, yeah, Nightcrawler was in this.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. I love Nightcrawler. Should have been in the third one. What a crime.
I think it's the first and probably only superhero movie prior to Avengers that does the ensemble move well.
Correct.
Quite frankly.
And this is without already building up the characters in their own solo movies. Correct. So we didn't get a Storm movie and a Nightcrawler movie and a Cyclops movie and a Wolverine movie. I mean, we do eventually get Wolverine.
Right, but not prior to X2. We're not getting all these origin story films.
Right, and Wolverine is his own animal. No pun intended. But, this movie, they expanded and managed to balance even further compared to the previous one.
Yeah. It's a great example of, even now, over 20 years later, of, hey, here's a template for how to put together and pull off a superhero movie in which you have a long cast list and develop almost all those characters further than what they had previously been established, and still tell a compelling story, still have a story that makes sense, that has solid conflict, where the stakes are high enough. You've got a compelling villain. Like, Brian Cox is phenomenal as William Stryker. He's terrific. And this is kind of a mini run for Brian Cox at being just a great bad guy in movies. He's in the Bourne trilogy as a, turns out, not great dude. So, sorry, spoilies if, 20 years later you still haven't seen Bourne Supremacy, but that's on you at this point. That's on you. But he's a terrific villain. But it really, on reflection, whenever I rewatch this movie, it always surprises me at how good it is at giving every single character, with the exception of Cyclops, sorry, bud, advancement, right? Like, every character, has a clever action scene. In other words, they get to use their powers in a unique way. Like, I'm thinking of when Magneto pulls all the grenade pins.
Magneto always has a cool sequence.
Right, that's incredible. Mystique has multiple instances where she's mistaking to great effect.
The power slide into a middle finger is comedy. Yeah.
Elite.
How do you slide like that? And
there's gotta be a lot of grease on that blue skin. It's gotta be just like baby oil, and that's a kind.
And then to be able to pull off the middle finger throughout that whole thing is hilarious to me.
Oh. And what blows me away is that they're adding characters to this movie.
Right.
We didn't lose characters from X-Men and then just keep things stable. We end up with a net result of more than what we had in the X-Men movie. And yet, again, aside from Cyclops, everybody else feels like they have an opportunity to shine even more. Like, Storm has a couple of awesome scenes. You get to see Jean kind of battling with her burgeoning and growing powers and skill set. Wolverine gets the flex, as he likes to say in the comics, being the best at what he does. It's true. He's incredible. But I mean, even your more minor characters like Iceman builds a freaking ice wall. It's pretty freaking sweet.
Yeah, it was good.
Right? That's a good move. Nightcrawler just every time steals the show for me. Like, they nail the Bamf sound as he teleports. That's incredible. And his look is, I think, the best. Honestly, like, he just looks like he's ripped straight out of the comics. It's incredible.
Yeah, the only thing that I could see anybody kind of going back and forth with was the tattoo-esque vibe, because that's definitely a very different take on the character. I didn't mind it. Right. I thought it was.
You're right.
I think it just helped flesh out his Catholicism essentially, because he is very. And that's what I really appreciate with Nightcrawler, is both in the animated series that I'm currently watching and this, they nail his Christianity to a T, which is great for his character.
Yeah. Oh, that's absolutely awesome. Rogue, as you stated, gets more to do. She puts out the fire. That's a good way to see her using her powers in a creative fashion. Gosh, one of the coolest and simultaneously grossest and creepiest scenes is when Magneto is just pulling the iron straight out of that security guard, right? It's just down at this granular level, and he can sense it, that it's in his, it's just part of his being, right?
Yeah.
That's it's just mind blowing every time.
And I think what's also just crazy because shouldn't that security guard have just been killed after getting all that metal injected to him in the first place? That was the one thing that I thought about. I was like, that's straight into your tuchus.
He's plus sized enough where he's
that's the one thing.
A walking heart attack.
So one thing I was like trying to figure out how it functioned.
Suspend your disbelief.
Right.
No question.
Because because I always knew like Magneto could pull the iron out of blood.
Right.
Because it's like, if you were human, why would you can't even be around him? Everybody's got a little metal in them at that point, right? But the way he just takes it out of him is like, oh no, he's dead. That guy's dead.
Well, I love how just before that happens, in the security checkpoint, before that security guard is permitted to enter into Magneto's cell, right? There's the check. I don't even know what to call it. There's the arch where they're scanning him for anything metal. And there's this little blip where you can tell the system is going, hey, something's off. But it's not significant enough. It's not a large enough source of metal for the system to detect. And so it's quality storytelling, right? Where it's like, hey, yeah, it's there. It's subtle enough where it's not going to alert the system, and the security guard isn't going to get close enough to Magneto for him to take advantage of the opportunity. Like that's great, because how many superhero movies and movies in general do we see where that thought isn't even put into a scene like that? Right. She's like, hey, we injected him. He's just going to show up and Magneto's going to rip it out. Well, yeah, at some point somebody's going to go, time out. Don't they have checks for this? So it was that little bit just stands out to me as far as hey, you're paying attention. You're taking your time to put something together that's tight. Like, that's really freaking cool.
Yeah.
Really freaking cool.
It was dope.
Yeah. Lady Deathstrike, holy balls. Like, that could really look corny, right? Having adamantium claws come out of the fingers.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
It works.
It looks terrifying.
Yeah.
As it should.
Well, they did a really interesting, because one of the complaints we had about the first movie was like they didn't have this chance to like flesh out all these other X-Men villains.
Correct.
This time they like made it work in their favor. Like they took away her personality in favor of her just being this right-hand man pawn.
Right.
For Stryker.
Yep.
And she puts up a fight with Wolverine. So I don't know if she has the healing factor in the comics like that. Gotcha. Not that she needs it, but not that it needs to reflect that, because obviously it was Wolverine was the basis for her to come. Right. But her, honestly, I don't know who I'd rather be scratched by. Right? You know what I mean? Uh-huh. Like she's got
it's an either.
Thinner, but there's more, you know?
It's I have seen that fight scene more times than I can remember. And it is so dang brutal every time. Like, both Wolverine and Lady Deathstrike are just taking some hits.
Stabbing each other over and over again, yeah.
Boy, like it's rough. Like, that is a hard PG-13 fight.
And no one wants to go out the way she did.
No.
That was tough.
No.
You see, and that was the part that I was trying to remember. I remembered incorrectly because I knew she drowned from it, but I thought it was because he put her head in there and not from like injecting it into her. Like, that was just
tough.
That's tough. Rough, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, part of what I appreciate about the movie is, since we're talking about the adamantium and Wolverine searching for Alkali Lake and where he was turned into this killing machine, that storyline could have taken the movie over, right? It could have been a Wolverine movie and, I'm sorry, all the other X-Men happen to be in it. But it does a heck of a job, and you mentioned this earlier, at striking the right balance of that's Wolverine's story, and he is certainly one of the primary X-Men that's given attention to in this movie, but it doesn't dominate. Instead, it travels a really a really healthy, like, parallel path with the primary conflict of William Stryker has developed a legit way to take out all of the mutants.
Oh, yeah.
And just kill them all. And so that carries the day. In fact, Wolverine's quest to try and learn about his history almost works as a distraction to the real issue, right? Like Wolverine, for example, is so caught up in discovering his own past that once the X-Men get into Alkali Lake, he just kind of bails. He pulls a bad teammate where instead of going, hey guys, let's communicate about this, let's talk through the strategy, he just walks off.
Yeah.
He just goes lone wolvie on us.
Which is, I mean,
that's on brand.
It's on brand for sure.
Very on brand. But I thought that was really quality storytelling that as the audience member, right, like you're primarily fixated on Wolverine. He's the character you've spent the most time with from X-Men down to this movie. So it makes sense that you would be most interested in his backstory, but the movie doesn't suffer from that.
Yeah.
And that's, I thought, really, really doggone impressive.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Very
really
much impressive.
It makes me not look forward to watching X-Men 3 because of how so many of those characters are going to be done dirty. I know we're going to do it for the sake of the pod, as we should. But, man, X2 is so doggone good. There was so much potential.
I do remember the final fight being not bad.
Correct. It's not an entire dumpster fire. But there are fires. there are fires. Something you mentioned off air, so to speak, was how much you liked, and I totally concur, that Jean Grey's growing power set wasn't this like alien entity, Phoenix Force. I like that, frankly, it just seems to be, hey, this is just inside her, and she has to try and tackle how to deal with this additional power that's at her disposal.
Well, I think with the direction the original trilogy went, it would have been so hard for them to be like, hey, by the way, Professor X has this weird connection to an alien princess that they've never met, but they are totally 100% in love. And this love is so strong that across the galaxies, they come together because they need to stop another outside force. And because of this, there's this protector of this fancy alien crystal that can warp reality in the world around it. And so it has a protector called the Phoenix, and that can just take over a person. It would not have fit. It wouldn't have worked for this. And by the way, in my personal opinion, and I think it shows in the third movie, you shouldn't have touched the Phoenix.
Correct.
That should have been... It should have been its entire separate trilogy afterwards. You shouldn't have touched it. It makes everything way more complicated than it needs to be. Okay? I love the overall arc with Magneto becoming, he's still consistently the bad guy.
Correct.
Right? Creating this army. Like, he finally has an army in this third one.
Right.
So, to have, like, that was perfect for me. Right? And then... Just you got too much going on, unfortunately.
Here's what I would propose as well, that X-Men in general, comics, movies, take your pick, even the cartoon, would be better off if they just forgot about the Phoenix Force. That's where I'm at. Like I can't think of a single instance where it's been hey, this was really spectacular. Maybe X-Men vs. Avengers, that comic,
it was perfect for that.
Really well there. But that's only been in the last several years. Prior to that, I can't tell you that there's been worthwhile usage of the Phoenix Force.
And I think with that, you're better off like having that trilogy in space.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's a great way to get Asteroid M involved, right? Where Magneto's like, hey, I'm going to make a planet, but it's just for mutants.
Sure.
Right? That's his first attempt, by the way, because he does it like 3 or 4 different times where he's like, this is for mutants specifically. And then it always gets blown up. Yes, the Phoenix Force, I agree, should be sparingly. I think it does a disservice to Jean down the line in the sense of like, she becomes dependent and reliant on it. In the animated series that I've been watching, they do a really good job at fleshing out the Phoenix and why it goes evil and because it finally gets like emotions for the first time, and so it corrupts it. But the way they handle it in the X-Men, like versus Avengers versus X-Men, was phenomenal because at that time, House of M hits. There's barely any mutants left.
Right.
The Phoenix Force is coming back for whatever reason, and I think they believe like it's coming back to help the mutants come back.
Sure,
because that's like its thing, this whole rebirth and all that fun jazz. Yes. So that comes back. It splits between the 5 X-Men originally, and then they have their whole fight, and they're like, "This isn't the way to do it." And you know, Namor floods all of Black Panther's, all of Wakanda.
Sorry, Wakanda.
Anyways. Getting down the wrong track, but it worked.
It's a good comic.
It worked, yes, and it worked for that story.
Yes,
I think it's a good tool occasionally. But yes, in these movies, it's a choice.
Yeah,
and I don't think it worked. Well, either time they did it.
Yep, I agree. Riles, what else you want to hit on X2? Highlights, lowlights, before we continue to move on, man.
It's fantastic.
Yep.
I'm honestly excited to watch the third one.
It's been such a long time since I've seen the third one. I'm looking forward to it enough as well.
Oh yeah. But one last thing. This is what I will say.
Do it.
There is a lack of accents in this movie, and it pisses me off.
Ooh, Colossus.
No Russian accent.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's weird. Okay. Pyro, I believe, is Scottish. No accent.
Interesting. Sure.
Which I didn't know until I watched the animated series, and he's got a thick Scottish accent. I was like, where was this all my life? Because this is fantastic. Okay? So, that's number 2. Nightcrawler had a perfect German accent. That was great. That was great. But I'm like, Storm should have one.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She should have, like, an accent.
Yeah.
No accent.
Yep.
I don't know. It's a little personal beef that I have.
We just got Americanized.
Also, I will say this. Is it weird to you that Wolverine has never had a Canadian accent? I'm not even talking about live action. Everything I've ever heard Wolverine, it's like this like deep, brooding voice. Never a Canadian accent. Is that weird to you?
No, it is weird. Because it's always been, oh yeah, he's from Canada originally, but there's... Unless you're Deadpool, that, like, what is there to really indicate that's the case?
I've never heard it from Deadpool either.
At least Deadpool wears red. Right, which is a prominent color on the Canadian flag. Wolverine is embarrassed of his Canadianism,
but that's more of a blood thing for Deadpool. Less about nationalism.
Let's hide the wounds.
So I just thought about that. It's like, where are the accents here?
Yeah,
because that's a bummer, especially for Colossus.
Correct.
You know,
Russian accents are phenomenal.
So that's where I'm at with it.
Missed opportunity. Well,
great movie.
It is so good.
Don't let that turn you away. It was just a little minor like detail that bothered me for some reason. Like it's not in like an indication of this movie. Just it doesn't lose a point. Right. It was just like a small minor like this is me nitpicking.
Well, and you got me thinking like I want to say when we were rewatching the original X-Men movie, I feel like Halle Berry was perhaps dabbling just the tiniest little bit in like trying an accent, but she never fully committed to it.
I don't even remember.
I could be misremembering that entirely. However, so it's
because and then here's the other thing too: is Professor X British, or was he just British because that was Patrick Stewart?
Yeah, Patrick Stewart.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I don't think
he's from New York.
I'm going to say I don't think in the comics he's British.
New USA #1.
Now, don't get me wrong. His voice is perfect.
Correct.
Don't get me. I think the British accent adds to it. Okay, but
the regality.
It's just weird that there's so many characters with the wrong accent. Well, I digress.
Eric Lensher's not an American.
No, and that's fine.
Right.
His accent works. I don't know if it's British because he's British too, isn't he? Sir Ian McKellen. Yeah, he's British.
Well, right, the actor is, but he should be having he should have a German accent also. Yeah.
Like that's what I'm talking. Like it still works for the character in this, but I'm just like, you're not from Britain, right? And technically, you could make the argument that isn't he Polish? Is he Polish or German?
Talking about Eric Lensher?
Yes.
Oh man, I
know he's Jewish, but like.
I'm going to say German. like the name just to me reeks of German, but I couldn't. I'm not gonna put money on that bet if someone's going $5. What do you got? Like, yeah,
and maybe they wanted to get away from the German being the bad guy, like the villain.
Sorry, it works. We're gonna lean into it.
But I don't know. That was just my thought. That was just my thought process.
Yeah.
The accents are
Riles. It's a good point, Riles.
Again, don't get hung up on it. But
they just need to remake all these movies. They failed. Freaking accents. Losers.
Give it to me.
Losers.
It's one of the best things about the X-Men, though, because they all come from all over the world.
Yeah, it would only enhance the characters.
Correct.
It doesn't not take anything away. It doesn't distract. It's very on brand. There's no doubt.
Okay.
Good. Glad you got that off your chest. Well stated. Good job. All right. News. There is news for us to hit.
Lots of news.
Lots of news. Let's try and take it in a semi-organized fashion, okay?
Well, then you should probably be in charge per usual.
No promises. Our highly anticipated Disney Plus series, Agatha All Along.
For its fourth name change.
Heavy sarcasm.
I do love how they embraced the name change, though, because they show it, like, in the new reveal. Yeah. Like, they're like, oh, it was called this, and then it was called this. Turns out she changed the name like 14 times.
Yeah. We have a firm, and I'm going to call it a firm for now, September 18th of this year release date. Firm for now because will we really be surprised if it gets pushed back again? No, we will not.
To be honest, it should be in October.
You're absolutely right.
Because it's a witch.
Yeah.
It should be October.
Yeah.
So
they're already...
I mean, it's fine. It's September or whatever. Right. I'm not watching it either way unless they're like, hey, Blade is in this. Then I'll be like, okay. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. The news on that front, as far as what other MCU characters that any of us would have some kind of prior interest in, has been scarce to none. So I don't think it's happening.
All I know is Aubrey Plaza is in it.
Yeah.
That's semi-appealing to me. She's perfect for that movie.
Yeah, Aubrey Plaza and Catherine Hahn are great for, like, the style that we are expecting this show to be, right? Like, perfect. It just doesn't, and we've discussed this ad nauseum, so we won't get too far down this rabbit trail. It's just not that appealing.
Yeah,
hopefully it's appealing to someone, right? I hope it's good. I hope people that watch it go, hey, that was really good. Okay, cool. That'd be great. That'd be perfectly fine. I would continue to watch Catherine Hahn and Aubrey Plaza in future Marvel properties. So I wouldn't mind that.
Here's the question, because I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I want to just double check. Mm-hmm. Is this a prequel or a sequel? WandaVision.
I don't actually know.
Or is this going to be like a mix of both? Where they're like, hey, this is where it starts out. Now she's here. And now she's back.
My expectation is that it's going to be at least some prequel, right? Because we had that flashback scene in WandaVision, right? With the Coven, where she takes all the powers of her sisters. And it's super gross, by the way. So I would be very surprised if there's not more of that. But...
and that's all
both, I think, is where I'm going. Yeah,
that's all I needed from the origin.
Well, let's get into our next topic, okay? So hold that thought, because we're not going to get away from it. Ironheart, turns out, is alive. We thought it was on the chopping block.
I thought it was dead.
Yeah, and totally DED dead. Turns out, no, it's alive. It's being released in 2025, so still very open-ended as far as when, in what month, at what date specifically it's coming out. But as you and I discussed earlier this week, we think there's an opportunity here from the rumblings we're hearing for it to be Ironheart, to be a technology versus magic.
Yes.
And so this is where, to bring it back to Agatha All Along, this is where I can get more enthusiastic about the idea of the Agatha character having her own show, is if, hey, it's used to build up additional magic-based characters so we can have more of that conflict, technology versus magic, not just in Ironheart, but in other, Doctor Strange movies, other Avengers movies. Like, there's some cool things that could be done, some creative things that could be done with those, at times, conflicting skill sets. So,
yeah,
color me intrigued in that respect.
I'll be interested, because the only thing that I can see, because I'm wondering if they're going to bring back Scarlet Witch and Agatha, and this is how she comes back, is towards the end of the show. Yep. I'll be interested to see if it connects to the Hood, because he's the villain of Ironheart, and that's badass. Okay, look up the hood; he's awesome. So, is this how he gets his iconic hood? Hence his name. I don't know, but I'm super pumped about it in that sense. So Ironheart is a different kind of story, anyways, because it's like she has the Wakandan background a little bit, but this is the closest thing we're getting to Iron Man in like since Endgame.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So it's like, oh, maybe she's going to be an interesting Iron Man-esque character.
Yep.
Because she was okay in the Black Panther movie. Like she was not like she was there. That would be my best like.
Yeah, I certainly think there's room for the character of Riri Williams to have more time.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm all for that. That's great. Truly, that's great. Like it doesn't have to be Tony Stark was the only genius out there.
Correct.
Right. So I think that's a cool concept. So I'm intrigued. I'm not closed off, but again, this is going to be the theme with any of these shows. Like it has to be ensemble. Like these are all supporting characters. They just are. And so if you're going to give one of them the title card to their own show, and I'm talking about Echo, for example, Agatha, Ironheart, like there needs to be strength in numbers.
Correct.
Here. Because as soon as we get a 6-episode miniseries that's focused just on Riri Williams, it's not going to work, guys. Sorry, it's just not going to work.
So who would you throw in there then to support her?
Yep.
I have my ideas. I want to hear yours first.
Okay. Good question. Really good question.
Unless you want me to go first.
I really like the idea of... Now, this is in a show that ultimately didn't work. Okay. But I really like the idea of Bruce Banner being a common thread through these shows. Okay. He's in She-Hulk in the first episode and helping her gain some control over her powers. I could see him being a nice, hey, let's sprinkle Bruce in here a little bit, right? So Bruce Banner would be one that I would love to see. You're absolutely right with the Wakandan connection. I think that is something I would like to continue to see. And listen, we're in the reality of T'Challa. We don't have a full-grown T'Challa. Okay, we just don't.
That's right.
And so, if we're gonna lean into other Wakandan characters, which is fine. That again, I've accepted. It's reality. So let's get more of Shuri in here. That'd be cool too. I think that Wakandan element like mixed in really well with Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Right.
They didn't overuse it, so I would be all for.
Yeah, and
all for that.
I think Shuri and or the Midnight Angels like Okoye fit really, really well in here. Okoye and Io, they fit really well in this. From my personal choice, I would like some street level heroes because the Hood is this gangster street level guy.
Right.
So personally, I would love Daredevil or the Punisher.
Yep.
John Bernthal would be perfect.
You're right.
Or even like Moon Knight.
Yep.
Right? One of those three would be great. I don't think it'll happen. I think the most logical connection is Shuri or Okoye or Io. Sure. I think the Midnight Angels are more realistic here than Shuri, but I would like to see those two because I feel like Shuri and Riri are very similar and they vibed really well together.
Totally agree.
In Wakanda Forever, totally I think their relationship was one of the better relationships.
Yep.
So yeah, that's where I'm at with it. And also, it would be a great opportunity to see Shuri suit up again as a Black Panther.
Yeah, I mean, listen, let's just lean into it, right? If that's which it is, that's who she's going to be. She's going to be carrying the Black Panther mantle for a while. And this is just bringing up memories when we talked through that movie. I like her character. Yeah. I like her as Black Panther.
Shuri's great.
A bummer about that particular movie was it was like this dark, brooding Shuri. And it's like, wasn't the Shuri that I enjoyed so much in the Black Panther movie. Like,
it worked for the movie.
It worked for the movie. I just don't want that to be what she is stuck in.
Yes.
And Riri Williams was such a, just big breath of helium that I feel like that could help bring that element or that side of Shuri out more often, right? And help her not just delve into the darkness, so to speak.
And this show could do that.
Yes.
Right? I think towards the end of that movie, she finally accepted her new role as the Black Panther and realized it was like a passing of the mantle from her brother.
Yep.
Right? Because she's fully the Black Panther now. She earned it.
Yeah.
Right? So for her, I think it would be great for her character progression to see her. She's happy. She's accepted it. She's like, okay, now it's my job to carry on what T'Challa left behind.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree.
No, but I like what you're talking about though with the street level characters.
But they definitely need
a great move.
They definitely need some sauce in there, right? They need a little ketchup in there, right?
Yeah. Well, and listen, this is part of what makes the comics, the street level comics in particular, so fun. Is okay, you've got a Daredevil comic, but look at that. There's Doctor Strange. There's Spider-Man. There's the Punisher.
Strange would be awesome. That's another one that I'm like, that would be kind of cool. I think that would be
Wong
is more realistic, probably.
I know Wong is more realistic. Bruce Banner is one. If I could have what I truly ideal choice, would actually be Doctor Strange working as the common theme here, because he obviously is the master of mystic arts, but he's not unfamiliar with technology, right? I think there would be some really natural tension that would go there, and he's being thrust into a dad role that he's definitely not ready for.
He's like, I already dealt with one of these children. I don't know if I can do another one.
Exactly. But that was part of what he and Tony, as they've been presented in the MCU, have had very similar personalities.
Right.
Right. And because of that, I think the instances where Tony had to do the dad adjacent thing, I'm talking about, of course, before Endgame, where he's
with Peter,
now literally a dad, right? With Peter, and even prior to that in Iron Man 3, forget the kid's name, Harley. Thank you. There was just natural tension in those scenes because Tony's like, I don't want to do this. Nope. Well, maybe I kind of want to. You know what? I'd be a phenomenal dad. He goes from not wanting to do it to be wildly overconfident of, hey, I figured out this Peter Parker guy is Spider-Man.
So on brand.
I would be a phenomenal father figure to him.
So on brand.
This will work flawless. Right? What could go wrong? Nothing. I'll tell you what. That's what'll go wrong. Absolutely nothing. So I think there's so much similarity there that was obviously cut off by Tony's death that I would love to see that dynamic revisited in the form of Stephen Strange.
I'll throw two more at you too.
Yeah.
Johnny Blaze, Ghost Rider.
Sure.
That would be dope for this.
Yes.
And then also I would be curious to see where they go with Ironheart, because I can also see this being how Miss Marvel popped up with Hawkeye and was like, hey, we're gonna be our own team. Because I think she would fit really well with that group as well.
No question.
So
no question.
Yeah. I thought about that too. I was like, maybe she's gonna be one of the champions, because I think she is one of the champions in the comics.
Yep.
So there you go.
That's great.
Bang.
Great. Love that. Okay, let's keep moving on the news front. We'll stay on the Marvel side a bit here. Captain America, Brave New World, still moving through its production. So if you're going to McDonald's, you want to get a Happy Meal, you can get some...
So stupid. Why didn't they push that back? There's spoilers in the Happy Meal.
There are spoilers for a movie that isn't coming out really that soon.
I can't figure that out.
I don't know.
Was it originally supposed to be this summer that it came out and it got pushed back an entire year? Is that what happened? Because they spoiled one of the villains' looks. Actually, two of the villains' looks, right? Another one of the supporting cast heroes. It's like you just showed your entire half your hand.
It's almost okay. So the release date is February 14th, 2025.
Okay, right? At least early. Ish next year, not next summer. We're still
a good 9 months premature here, McDonald's.
Oh yeah.
9 months.
Is that McDonald's fault though, or is that Disney's fault? It's got to be.
A couple people didn't talk to each other at both places, right? There was some this was put on the calendar. Okay, the original conversation takes place 18 months ago. It was like, hey, we're coming out with this movie late summer 2024. When can we do the toys? It's like, well, we'll have them, in production. We'll have them at each store by, I don't know, April or so of 2024. Hey, that's perfect. Let's start rolling out. We'll hit the marketing hard. And then the folks at Disney forgot to call the folks at McDonald's and say, excuse me, can you put the boxes and toys on ice for a bit? wait till, let's say, October, and then we'll start pushing that stuff out. Nope, we're going to go with May. Oh boy.
Also, can I just throw this out too? McDonald's, step up your toy game. It's been bad for a while now. I remember when I was a kid and I was looking forward to the Happy Meals.
Get a freaking Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
A legit action figure Ninja Turtle.
This right here.
Stop.
That came from Burger King.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This was at my grandparents' house. I don't know how I still had it. Okay? I don't know how it didn't go away. All right? Because this is before I even knew that character was like legit.
Yeah.
Right? I also remember Burger King having legitimate good Yu-Gi-Oh toys.
Right.
Okay? It's trash. I feel bad for you that you have to bring your kids into that for Happy Meals. I'm assuming you don't even go to McDonald's that much.
You know what? Actually, I did this past week, and I got them the Happy Meals because I saw the Captain America toys.
Oh, so you're like, we'll do that.
It's like, sure, we'll do it. Now, fortunately, they're not disappointed. Okay,
That's great.
They don't know any better because they didn't grow up in my day or even in your day. They were growing up in their own day, and these are just like, here's what they ask. They're like, is this a Christmas ornament? Which was a fair question.
They asked you that?
They asked me that. It's a fair question because it's this little...
Oh, yeah, it's got the
loop on it.
Yeah.
Real toys don't have loops.
No.
Ornaments have loops. So it was a perfect question. I'm like, you know what? I get the question. No, it's not.
We'll see.
But also in December, when we get our Christmas tree, if you hang it on there, I would understand.
It would blend in.
It would totally fit in.
Here's the final thing on that, right? Because, hold on, I lost it.
You got it.
Where'd it go?
Yep. Loops.
Yes. And I understand doing like the plush things, right? Like that makes actual sense. Because then you could give it to a 2-year-old. They're not going to lose it. It's not going to hurt them. I get that. But like the quality's terrible.
It's garbage.
It's garbage. Bad. So, yeah. Tough.
It's quite tough. It's quite tough. So there you go. Captain America, Brave New World. Hey, it's coming. Get your toys now at McDonald's. And also be patient.
And then do you want to go right into Daredevil?
I do.
Yes.
Yes.
Daredevil, 9 episodes. That new logo, phenomenal.
The new
it's great. I'm super pumped for this.
Yep. That was incredible. 9 episodes sounds right. I'm going to guess they're in that 40-ish minute range would be, give or take 5 minutes either side of that scale.
And we're getting Bullseye. We're getting John back as Punisher.
Yeah. It's
Foggy and...
Still impossible not to be Karen Page.
Yeah, Karen Page. Yep, that's it.
For that. So a lot of good things there. Apparently, we're getting a live-action Spider-Man Noir starring Nick Cage.
Yeah, I don't know
whether real. How is that real?
You don't know whether to be absolutely appalled or if they just lean into how corny it's going to be, and it just turns out to be fantastic. Because here's the thing:
they have to lean into the corniness, right?
Yeah,
like they have to.
Because I personally liked him a lot voicing the character. He was fantastic.
True.
But here's the thing. Spider-Man Noir, that comic, is dark as shit. Okay?
Really?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Have you not?
No.
You haven't heard?
No.
Do you want to know how Uncle Ben dies in this? I believe this is the case. No. You'll have to
doesn't open.
You'll have to double check me. Okay? So I'm not 100% sure. I know this happens, and I think it's to Uncle Ben. The Vulture in Spider-Man Noir is a cannibal. And I'm pretty sure he killed and ate Uncle Ben.
Oh, that's quite tough.
Yeah. No, the Vulture in Spider-Man Noir, terrifying. Okay, let me just double check. How does Uncle Ben die?
Oh, man.
But, yeah, no, it's brutal. It's not good. It's very dark and shady. Right? Also, this Spider-Man uses guns. Like, he's not afraid to shoot people.
I'm going to need a corny, hilarious version. If we get the dark and shady, and I could see it going very much either direction. I don't know. At the very least, they need to find the Declaration of Independence. That's got to be part of this.
Right there. In Spider-Man Noir, Uncle Ben, also known as Ben Parker, is killed by the Vulture, cannibalistic criminal who works for crime lord Norman Osborn. Vulture kills him after he is kidnapped, beaten, tied down, and then set upon by wild dogs.
Oh my gosh, that's somehow worse.
Again, Spider-Man Noir, very, very, very dark.
Wow. Okay.
So they campied him up in the movie, the animated movies. I don't think I want this if this is going to be the way.
Okay? Yeah, it's got to stay campy.
Don't get me wrong.
Campy.
Please. Marvel Noir, if you want to do a TV show with it, fantastic. I like the idea. But this ain't it.
No.
This is
weird.
Especially because Nick is like 70.
The unkillable force.
35
is Nicolas Cage.
35, 40 years old. And he's come out and said, he's like, yeah, I just want to act because it's fun.
Yeah.
This is definitely a fun project for him.
Correct. He's just doing it for fun. He could give a hoot about anything else. All right, let's keep moving. Galactus in the new Fantastic Four movie was cast. Ralph Ineson, could be Innocent. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name, Ralph. Do yourself a favor, okay? If you haven't done this, and props to our guy Eric for this note, if you haven't YouTubed Ralph and given yourself the treat that is his voice, do it. Just find an interview with the guy, okay? He, for example, voiced a character in, Final Fantasy, one of the Final Fantasy games within the last year or so. Yeah, what do we got? Final Fantasy 16, okay? He voices, what's this character's name? Sidolphus Telamon. Sure. Let's just call him Sid, all right? But his voice, just listening to his interview in the voice, his voice in the interview, oh boy, this is Galactus, ladies and gentlemen. They crushed it. That's absolutely perfect.
Yes, it is 100%. They killed it. It's great.
Yeah.
I was just looking to see.
Yes. I mean, let's be real. This is a character, this is a casting choice where the actor or actress, in this case, gets lost, right? It's going to be a CGI character, so we're not going to see Ralph's face ever. You're going to see Galactus. But the voice matters. So I love with the raw material they're starting with. And frankly, I hope, here's a fear that I would have. I hope they don't overdo it with the work they do to his voice. So the original Justice League movie, they casted Killian Hines as, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on the villain's name now, Riley, from Justice League? Help me here, guy.
Sorry.
Steppenwolf. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got a great voice for a villain, and they just butchered it in post-production. Like, they took away any part of Killian Hines' personality totally out of it. It's like you didn't need him in that role. You could have just pulled a dude off the street and said, hey, read these lines. We're going to record it, and then we're going to mess with it hardcore. So anyway, Ralph, good on you. Looking forward to hearing you as Galactus.
Sorry, I got caught up looking into his
filmography.
Yes. Yep. He was in Game of Thrones.
Yep. Sure.
And he was also in Peaky Blinders, which I need to actually watch.
Okay. I've heard good things of that show.
Yes. Yeah. He was also in the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
Interesting.
I don't know who he was in that.
Yeah. Couldn't tell you either. Okay. A couple other news items. On the non-superhero front, Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power Season 2 dropped its first trailer this past week. I continue to be interested. I really enjoyed Season 1. It is and I don't know if this is just a tale of our times, how divisive this show has proven to be amongst fans. I don't get it. I don't understand why someone would watch this show and go, I hate it and you should hate it too. I don't get that. I totally understand when someone watches a show or a movie and says, that just wasn't for me. Okay.
Yep.
Fair. Why this show in particular has generated so much just weird, in my opinion, weird dislike and hate is beyond me. It's really strange. I loved Season 1. Season 2 looks terrific as well. Also, Dune Prophecy not HBO Max, a Max original miniseries. Is coming out late this year. Didn't even know that was in the works, but it dropped its first trailer.
Is it still with the main cast of Dune, or is this like a prequel?
No, so it's like a 10,000 years before the events of Dune prequel.
Okay.
I may have added a 0 there. Maybe it's just 1,000 years. Either way, a long time before Dune, you have Dune Prophecy. And I believe the premise, as it's been at least shared so far, is kind of the creation of the Bene Gesserit order.
Oh, great.
So, In other words, the creepiest elements of the Dune movie is what we're leaning into, brother, for the show. So, not your cup of tea. I can understand why you won't watch this.
Pass. Pass.
Close one, but just gonna have to be a gentle pass.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Okay. Any other news notes that you want to hit? Oh, Ma and Pa Kent were cast in the Superman movie.
Yep.
That was really random. I feel like I was Anchorman. They're just shouting. But there you go.
They were cast.
Ma and Pa Kent were cast, you guys.
There you go.
I've never heard of the actor or the actress.
Nope.
And yes, they're going to be referred to as Ma and Pa.
Ma.
Pa.
Hey, Ma.
Okay. There you go. Let's move on, shall we?
Yeah.
That's all the news that we could possibly handle in one day. It is now time for another classic JP and the Beans Top 5. We are going to give you our top 5 movies of the summer 2024 edition. Here's what we believe you should look forward to, or at least it's what we're looking forward to.
I wouldn't even say I'm looking forward to these movies.
We were forced to do this.
I'm looking forward to 2 of these movies.
Beans has been a good sport here. In our game planning for the episode earlier this week, we always talk about top 5 ideas. And I said, hey, so this is totally on me. I'm like, hey, what if we did a top 5, since we're now into the summer, movies that we're looking forward to this summer? And Beans, innocently enough, trusting me, says, great idea. Let's do it. And then we start digging into what's coming out in the summer of 2024. You guys, spoilers, it's grim. There are not a lot of great options out there in this summer.
They wonder why the theaters are dying. Anyways.
And nonetheless, we powered through. We came up with the top 5, but there's going to be some stretches here. But that's just all part of the fun, Riles. So let's lean into it. Riley, you go first.
I'm even embarrassed. This is on the list. Number 5.
It'd be really great if you
honestly,
have a stretch that's on the list. I'd be delighted.
Honestly, this sets the bar. This sets the tone for the list. Okay?
Yes.
Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie, coming to Netflix.
Oh.
SpongeBob is having its own solo movie, and Sandy Cheeks is the main character. That's all I need to say about that. That's how good this list is, guys.
Wow. When's that coming out, Riles?
I don't know, and I don't care.
We need to anticipate.
August? I think August?
August, question mark?
I don't know, look it up on Netflix. I could care less. Because, yes, everybody was clamoring for a Sandy Cheeks solo movie.
Good for you, Sandy.
Okay, well, that's my 5.
All right, there you go. My number 5 is a movie that certainly you've never heard of, because I had never heard of before today. It's called Sing Sing. The title is, I think, quite rough. I wish they would have picked a different title, okay? But the synopsis here, it's based on a true story, okay? So I can say I'm genuinely intrigued based just on that, but it's based on the real-life rehabilitation through the arts program at the Sing Sing Maximum Security Prison. So it follows and it actually, I believe, stars a handful of the folks that came through the program. All right. So the idea here being that I need to apologize immediately because I now realize why they're calling it Sing Sing. That's the name of the correctional facility. Okay. Sing Sing. Also, weird name for the correctional facility, so I don't apologize. Apology rescinded. But I'm intrigued, based on a true story, rags to riches kind of thing. Probably still a lot of rags, but there you go. Sing Sing. Coming out July 12th. Mark it on your calendars. Yeah. All right. Number 4. Fly Me to the Moon. Also, July 12th. Channing Tatum, Scarlett Johansson. Another based on a true story flick where NASA, when they are developing their moon landing mission, hires a marketing professional to try and create essentially a movie of what a successful moon landing would look like.
So it is a hoax.
It was all a hoax. It was all a hoax. Hey, listen, I love Channing Tatum. Love Scarlett Johansson. They're together in this movie. It looks like a rom-com that the wife and I can go see. I'll go see it with her. We'll do it. Fly Me to the Moon, Riley. That's my number 4. What's your number 4?
Number 4 for me, I have Despicable Me 4. Because apparently...
There you go.
Because apparently that got a 4th movie. It looks like we're getting superhero minions with some powers that I could care less about. So yeah, the fourth one.
Mm-hmm.
That's really my number 4.
It's really happening.
My number 3, the Garfield movie. Notice how all of these are animated. Yep. So yes, that is the third. I honestly don't think Pratt's voice is that bad from the trailer. You know, everybody's a little concerned, but I was like, I can hear it. So that's all I got.
Good for you.
It probably should have been animated before live action.
That's okay.
You know what I mean?
That's okay.
Okay, there I go. All that's number 3.
My number 3, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Comes out in just a matter of days. I've already invited you. You've already rejected your invitation. Fine.
I'm gonna be a doo-doo head about it.
Fine. I'll go see it by myself with all my friends. By myself. Listen, I don't really know if I'm expecting it to be great. I really enjoyed Mad Max Fury Road. But as soon as you fold Chris Hemsworth into the mix as the massive, ginormous, long-haired, and also massive prosthetic-nosed apocalyptic warlord that he's going to portray, you've got my attention. So
it would be interesting seeing him as a villain.
Yeah, right. I don't love that it's a prequel. That kind of just always takes away some of the drama as far as, I wonder how this is going to end, and we already know. So it's a prequel to Mad Max Fury Road. But listen, I'm interested enough because I enjoyed Fury Road so much. He gave me Chris Hemsworth. I'm going to go see it. Mad Max Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is my number 3. Okay, here we go. Now, this is 100% for the sake of variety, okay, that I'm putting this at number 2. Because we all know what the number 1 really is. But I'm going to put this at number 2 just so we can get a little variety in the group. All right, Deadpool and Wolverine is my number 2. I'm going to present a different movie as number 1.
This isn't funny.
This is just for the sake. This is just for the sake of the dialogue. This is just the sake of the dialogue. Don't quit the podcast on me.
You know what number 1 is.
I know.
I don't care what that new number 1 is. That's bullshit. You and I both know that.
He said as much. I confessed as much. This is all semantics. All right. What's your number 2? I'd love to hear it.
Oh, that's the end of your pitch.
Yeah.
Of why it's number 2.
Because I want to talk about
should be number 1.
I want to talk about when you bring it up as number 1. I didn't want to waste. Didn't want to waste.
My number 2 is already out currently. I have not seen it. It is Fall Guy.
Yes.
With Gosling. Okay. This looks fantastic.
It does.
This movie looks great. Yep. I would love to go see it. Mm-hmm. That is my number 2.
Yeah.
Story looks right. Gosling looks hilarious.
He's always hilarious.
Yes, this is true.
So perfect casting.
Yes.
Perfect casting.
I'll take him at number 2.
Yeah.
Number 1 is Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes, it is.
And by a mile.
Yes.
By a mile. And no one's even close. Okay, this movie's gonna break records.
Well, there's no doubt.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you did that.
I have an opportunity to find myself.
No. Let's hear it. Let's hear what this shit take at number 1 is. I'm angry.
This has gone better than I could have expected. This is great. My number 1, again, could it be number 2? Absolutely. I'm putting it number 1 so we can have some dialogue, and I regret nothing based on how your reaction has gone so far, is Horizon, an American Saga, the Kevin Costner Western. He's dropping, it's a 2-parter. He's dropping part 1, he's calling chapter 1, June 28th, and then chapter 2 later in the summer, August 16th. This.
So you're not even getting the full movie.
This looks majestic. No, you're not getting the full story. You're getting the full movie. You're just not getting the full story.
Seems like a cop-out.
Well, if it's anything like Matrix Reloaded and whatever the other one was, this could crash and burn real hard. But listen, Kevin Costner is my guy. One of my top 10 favorite movies of all time is Silverado, one of the first movies that Kevin Costner was in, also a Western, by the by. And he has made or been part of Westerns since then that have been terrific. Open Range with Robert Duvall, Bob Duvall. Horrific.
Yellowstone.
Terrific. Yellowstone. I've watched none of it, but I've heard it's glorious. So this is a passion project. So he actually left Yellowstone, all right, to make these movies. This is his baby. and it looks magnificent. So it's set post-Civil War as Americans continue to push west. The cast is unreal. Not going to go through all those names now because I'm just going to keep hyping this up all summer long. But it looks gorgeous. And part of the reason why I'm going to choose to hype it up here in the number one slot is this is what we are lacking in this summer, Riley. We are lacking original content. We have Despicable Me 4. We have Inside Out 2. We have a 7th or 8th, depending on who you ask, Alien movie. Oh my God. There's so much that's just obvious. We're just trying to make money here. We're not necessarily trying to tell a story. We're just trying to make some dollar bills. And I understand that it's a business, but I am stoked for a 2-part story that I get to double dip this summer, a Western. I'm here for it. So that's my number one. Now, again, Deadpool and Wolverine, easily the movie I'm looking forward to the most. It is. But for the sake of variety in this discussion, and because of the absolute never-ending joy that is the gift of your rage reactions, I regret nothing about what I've done.
Varieties for posers. It's fine. It is what it is. It's the wrong decision, but it's fine. Anyways,
we should probably wrap it up
for our last episode ever.
Incredible.
Yeah, that's it. We wrapping.
Let's wrap. Thanks for listening and watching, everybody.
Yep,
it's been a good run.
Yep. Godspeed.
Peace.